with a quiet raised hand what this hole is and where it comes from. I'll give you a hint, it is man-made. What do you reckon?
Water.
No.
I think it's for trapping water.
No. Sort of. This here is what's known as an Indian grinding stone hole. Indian grinding stone hole. Now, believe it or not, I have been around the world twice. Yet this right here is my most favorite place in the whole wide world because of the amazing lesson that it teaches us. This is called Grandmother Rock, and this is the oldest thing in the state park, obviously. It's a rock, right? And so what would happen was a Native American family would come in and they would start with a flat piece of rock and they'd take an acorn from the trees up there and they take the shell off it, take the cap off of it, they put it in a basket, bring it down to the river, and they let the water leach all the toxins out of the acorns, right? Have you guys ever made a pot of beans overnight? Yeah. You gotta let it soak up all the toxins first, and then you strain it out, and then you can do it, right? Same kind of thing. You leave it in the river a few days, and you bring it back, you set it out, you dry it out, you bring them in, and then you take the acorns, you put them on the rock, and you start smashing and grinding and smashing and grinding and smashing and grinding and smashing and grinding and smashing and grinding. You guys ever seen a mortar and pestle in the kitchen? Like a little stone bowl and little thing, kind of crushed up garlic? Right? Same kind of thing. So you start smashing and grinding the acorn, and as you're doing that all day, every day, all day, every day, eventually you're gonna wear out a little divot in that rock. And as you keep going, that divot's gonna get a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper until eventually you have a hole. Now, who can take a wild guess? How long do you think it takes? This hole here, look at this. It's about, oh, I don't know, 5 inches deep. Some of these holes are about 8 or 9 inches deep. Take a wild guess. How long do you reckon it takes to go just 1 inch?
About a year?
No.
An hour?
No.
A month?
Try 10 to 20 years to go 1 inch. 5 inch deep hole. 100 years to make that hole. Right? 9 inch deep hole. There's some holes out here that are almost 2 feet deep. How many inches in a foot?
12.
How many inches in 2 feet?
24.
What's 24 times 20? What's 24 times 2?
That's 48.
So what's 24 times 20?
That's 480.
480. 500 years for some of these holes. And here's the other thing too. The Nisenan, the Miwok, and the Maidu people, they were not a stationary people, they were a migratory people, which means they would travel with the seasons, right? When it got really, really hot, they'd go up towards like Lake Tahoe area. And then when it got really, really cold, they'd go down towards Sacramento. And they would travel their trails, and they would leave their umachas and their acorn granaries behind, so they always had a house and some food to go back to. Which means that year after year, generation after generation, they came back to the same rocks, and they picked acorn from the same trees, and they hunted the same herds of deer, and they picked from the same soap roots, and they understood something, right? There's a beautiful Native American proverb that says, "The land I walk upon does not belong to me. It is simply borrowed from the future generations," right? Which is kind of special, because they understood the only way they were going to survive, the only way they were going to make it to the next season, and to the next generation, is if they took care of the land as they walked upon it. So that was when they came back, they had something to come back to. Right? These rocks teach us, if you want to be able to come back and repeat that cycle, you have to be mindful of where your feet are going. And I think that's pretty special. Now let me ask you a question. Did you guys live the same way that your parents did growing up? No, there's all sorts of cool new stuff, right? There's iPhones and the internet and Fortnite, right? All sorts of crazy stuff that you guys never had, or that they had never had. And then their parents had some cool stuff that their parents never had, and then they had some cool stuff that their parents never had. But you go back a few more generations, and things are very similar to what your parents had. If you were a farmer, it's because you probably inherited some land from your family. If you were a blacksmith, your daddy probably had the tools and taught you the trade, right? You had a very similar life to what your family could give you and provide with you. And generations would pass down their trades. Today, You guys have the amazing opportunity to do just about anything you want. You guys have the resources. You guys have the privilege. You guys have, if you guys are just a little bit lucky and you guys are nice to the right people and you work really hard, you could go to outer space one day, right? There's amazing things that you guys could do that previous generations never even dreamed of. It's amazing. But with all that amazing opportunity, it's also super important to think about what comes before and what's going to be left after, and to think about the resources we're using for that future. And I think that's pretty special. We're going to go down here and we are going to start our hardcore apple challenge.